Body 1 for the thriller. Harper and Hitchcock develop credible, universal characters who represent the everyman. Aaron and Roger are unwillingly thrown in situations where they are forced to develop, change, and adapt their habits. Both characters challenge the genre tropes of the protagonists as neither of them fit the stereotypical hero mold. Fork, Forever an Outsider, is utilised by the author to highlight one's need to accept past. He begins as a depicted man who is lost and weakened by his desire to flee his hometown and the fears of the town's reception and his presence. Harper's negative depiction of the town enables her reader to see the prejudice, bigotry, and ignorance of the townsfolk. Body 2, narrative structure. North by Northwest and The Dry are both composed in linear fashion. The Dry follows a total structure while North by Northwest follows a double climax structure. Flashbacks are used throughout The Dry to give the audience background knowledge and add suspense. The narrative begins with an inciting incident with the outcome made clear in the program. Many twists and turns are used throughout the novel. False leads and red herrings are used to further build suspense. The ongoing tease throughout the text further amplifies the novel. Luke lied, you lied. Harper draws this out for some time. And Alfred Hitchcock is known as that master of suspense. The double climax structure is the style that he's used in many of his films. North by Northwest begins with a rising action, followed by climax with a denouement afterward. Body 3 is on codes. North by Northwest and The Dry challenge the normalities of codes which are seen in normal thriller texts. The codes in North by Northwest include bright lighting, using diegetic sounds during a climax, and by keeping one camera angle the same for an unsettling amount of time. The crop duster scene. The scene begins with an extreme long shot of the prairie. The diegetic sound of the bus is used to further establish the suspense. A crop duster is evident in the mid to ground of the shot, which is noticed by the viewer. Suspense is built over a drawn-out period of Roger standing isolated on the road. Jasper Jones. Praised as a triumph of adoption, Kate Mulvaney's 2016 play Jasper Jones is a coming-of-age narrative which draws on the culturally diverse characters, old and young, male and female, ignorant and wise beyond years. Body 1. Charlie. Charlie begins the play as a bookish, innocent, socially awkward 14-year-old who is bullied for using words with too many syllables. It is through his perspective that the audience understands the representation of true moral courage. He undergoes a transformation from a naive, innocent boy, born without the speed of courage, who has got to stay brave, to one worthy of being a whole new class of superhero. Charlie is used to highlight Mad Jack's view that saying sorry and going against the status quo shows the most courage, and it is through his reflection about courage and the behaviours that he witnesses that the audience is able to recognise that saying sorry can also be a refuge for the weak, as is not coming from a moral standpoint. And he acts as a mouthpiece for Mulvaney. Jasper Jones. Jasper Jones portrays the innocent of the story, the true hero who demonstrates courage, compassion and honesty, despite the many injustices and evil that is forced upon him. Jasper, an Aboriginal, is the town's scapegoat, who is known throughout the Corrigan as the worst kid in town. He is the first to be blamed for everything and is demonised by the townsfolk as a motherless half-caste. Through an application of a post-colonial lens to Jasper's character and the sorry motif, that Mulvaney's dominant viewpoint about Australia's need to acknowledge its racist, intolerant past in order to achieve a multicultural future is foregrounded, as she challenges her audience to see Corrigan as an extension of Australia as a whole and forces them to look at themselves. Body 3 is on Mad Jack. Mad Jack Lionel is a figure of fear amongst the children of Corrigan. No kid ever laid eyes on him. This was due to a result of intergenerational bigotry and intolerance, which was developed into his demonic reputation. He's silenced throughout the majority of the play. He's a good character haunted by his mistakes. Connection between Mad Jack and Jasper is a tragic one. It was Mad Jack's prejudice that ultimately sealed Jasper's unfortunate fate. Lionel links to the theme of courage as is put on display when he finally accepts fault and says sorry. Lionel also shows courage by turning his back on the town. The symbolically connects to Boo Radley, the hunter. Narrative structure. Narrative structure has been employed by the director to develop tension and suspense, manipulate audience. He transforms the Lee's novel, where M is a masculine character, positions the audience to see that redemption is no longer an option available to humankind, to a narrative that is based on hope and salvation. The narrative becomes less internal and more external. The audience follows Martin in the natural landscape, while in the novel, the reader spends more time in his mental thoughts and monologues. Characterizations. M is depicted as an immortal and indestructible being who has no respect for the living, while in the film, he saves the Armstrong family, and it is through their weakness and vulnerability that Nateem is able to develop Martin's positive attributes. Jack Mindy. He's absent-mindedly, scarcely talks to Martin during the climb, giving the audience an impression he's a close character. While in the film he's a lone character, he doesn't have a wife and he lives by himself. This is done to highlight the tragedy. He's left with no one in the film. By the end of the film, Jack becomes a broken man, redeeming himself as we come to realise he truly did care for the Armstrongs. Lucy's a negligent mother. The audience is positioned to view her negatively, not with sympathy or pity. While the film gives her a voice, she's able to explain herself and her actions. She's able to transform from a medicated state in which she was a negligent mother to being more present in their lives. This is due to the help from Martin David. And then we've got themes. The theme of redemption is explored throughout the film, while the novel foregrounds an opposing view. In the text, Lee clearly demonstrates that the world is too cruel for there to be redemption. The theme is highlighted through M's character, as no matter how much the audience wishes upon the change of M, it never occurs. While in the film, Nateem flips redemption on its head and shows that there is hope for salvation, seen through Martin's character as he goes from a cold-hearted hunter to a loving and caring man.